Well, happy Wednesday, everybody. It is Wes McDonald here on June 23rd. Ken, welcome back. I can't believe we're almost at the end of the month. How did that happen?
I don't know. It just kind of flown by, and I'll say welcome to everybody as well. It's nice to have those of you that are here with us. We appreciate it. Hopefully you're looking forward to an interesting conversation. Not that anybody needs more money.
More money. Yeah. So this is a fun one today. You know, a lot of the times when we're doing these things, managed print providers have always gotten themselves into this idea that the only thing people really care about when it comes to managed print is saving money, right? And certainly that is not always the truth. So we got a special guest we're going to bring in a little bit later, who's actually going to tell you from his perspective that it's not always about saving money, that you can actually make, more money. And for everybody that's in here, remember, we love to see your comments. So if you're watching us on Facebook, YouTube, or on LinkedIn, make sure that you post those comments and questions. And Ken, I know there's one thing you always like to ask of people that are tuning in.
So let us know where you're watching from. I'm in the middle of North Carolina, and I know Wes is up in Canada. So the question is, where are you guys?
That's right, eh? And with your travel background there, Ken is a big fan of travel, and I look forward to being a fan of travel again when I'm allowed to. So soon enough, I think the border restrictions are going to be eased in July. And I got my first trip booked for the BTA down in North Carolina in October. So everything's trending well. Looks like I'll be able to, to get back down into the marketplace once again. And in the news, this one I know is a bit selfish, but as most people watching know, I'm the president for the Managed Print Service Association. And you have an opportunity still to submit for the Leadership Awards until the 25th is the deadline. So it's only a couple of days left. End of the week that goes away. And these leadership awards are a great way for you to showcase the kinds of things that you're doing in the managed print world that sets you ahead of your competition. So if you're not an MPSA member already, well, that's very simple. It's only a couple $100 a year. And Ken, as we talked about, we're offering the 10-day challenge for free, $239 value to MPSA members. So I'm not a mathematician, but I'd say that puts you $39 ahead versus behind, right? And if you're not a member, but you've done something incredible in the managed print services space, either as an OEM, as a vendor, as a dealer, get signed up, get your submission in, and make sure you do that straight away. All right, so I'm going to start diving into this, right away, right? So I know that a lot of reviewers will be asking the question, what do you mean pay more? I thought this whole idea, a flat rate was always to save, customers money, right? And although it lends itself to that quite naturally, because those that follow the program that Ken and I subscribe to know that we actually look pretty hard at user workflows to be able to find areas of inefficiencies, and that ends up usually saving them money. If they're printing too much color email, or if they're printing web pages that are in color and they don't need to, if they're not duplexing, if they're just throwing stuff into the recycling bin the minute that it's printed out, those things usually lead to cost savings. But they're not the only driver of what people want from a flat rate program. Some dealers do specifically device-based flat rate programs where they don't use the user rules. And there are things that customers love about that. And we're going to talk about those a little bit later on. But I think what I want to do is jump right in. And we do have a great guest today. If you don't know who Earl Everson is, he is the king of flat rate billing in Chicago. He has absolutely knocked this program out of the park. He's doing a phenomenal job. And he has stories about when he can, actually make more money with the program as well compared to cost per page. So let me see if I can get Earl in here. Hey, Earl, what's up, buddy?
Hey,
can you hear me okay?
How are you?
Good. Hey, I love that new background. Is that some flat rate? Yeah. Is that a flat rate logo I see back there on your new banner?
It is. It's the flat rate billing program, Elite Document Solutions. Go ahead.
Absolutely love it. You got the Xerox, the flat rate, and the Elite logos. Yeah, it's breaking
Okay.
up a little bit, but once we ask questions,
Yeah,
we'll move
absolutely.
into the limelight. So, Earl, you've been doing flat rate, and we've spoken with you before. And one of
Okay.
the things that got you started on flat rate, obviously, was as a competitive differentiator, right? And one of the things that we've been talking about with flat rate is that it's not just about saving money. That sometimes customers, there's actually other benefits to flat rate where they might actually pay you more money. So I wonder what kind of insights you have as a dealer in the field actually doing it.
Yeah.
How does that work? Are people willing to pay more sometimes?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. It's a great topic. First of all, in our industry, it's always been that tail story of we're racing to the bottom, with click rates. Click rates keep declining year over year, as well as print volume. And it's like, when is it going to stop? When are those click rates going to kind of eventually bottom out? And so with this flat rate program, it's incredible because customers, number one, they want simplicity. Second thing is they want predictable billing. They want to know what they're going to pay month in, month out. And then third, they're willing to pay more. Believe it or not, they're willing to pay more. Prime example here, guys, is Verizon Wireless. Verizon Wireless came out with this unlimited data plan. You guys remember that, right?
Yep.
And before they did that, you had a plan that you paid for your cellular usage, and then you had that data charge. So if you exceeded that data charge, they would hit you like $15.
Yeah.
Gig, whatever you went over per month from just streaming videos or whatever. And this unlimited data plan, which is more than what I would typically pay. However, I knew I wouldn't have any surprises. I wouldn't have any overage invoices or billing. I knew, okay, I'm going to pay, maybe 15% more, but now it's unlimited. And that was the beauty behind it. So when I saw Verizon Wireless do that, I thought, hey, that's brilliant. How can we bring that into this print industry and really make a difference, not only for our company, but from a profitability standpoint, and to help the end user to really develop a customer-centric program to help them month in, month out.
Yeah, and that predictable invoice that you talk about, both with Verizon and lots of other things, right? So if you feel that there's value in that predictability, you'll pay for it, right? So I have a subscription grocery service that I pay for, and you can pay individually for, the shipping charge. And so some months you'll only use it once, and maybe that would be a better way to go. But I went with the unlimited delivery package, even though I don't always use it, because I know for budgeting, when my wife and I sit down and look at the bills, exactly what that's going to be. That goes into our budget, right? So there's all kinds of examples about that. And in the managed print world, anytime that I've done a managed print assessment where I would actually sit down and talk to the customer, not about devices, but about them. And Earl, as you mentioned, this idea that it's a customer-centric approach, right? When you start asking them those questions, that sometimes what they're looking for is not savings at all, but exactly what you're talking about, right? And so it sounds like you've got some experience with that yourself, right? That, customers are willing to pay a premium and have paid a premium just for that peace of mind, right?
Correct.
Now,
that's right.
One of the other ways, that this sort of happens, obviously, when we're looking at, providing this value for, customers with the predictable billing. And I think also, as you mentioned, the simplicity, right? So you're primarily a Xerox dealer today, and the simplicity of being able to offer that brand to those customers under your flat rate program,
Correct.
right? So do you kind of, one of the things that Ken and I teach in our program when we're working with dealers is to really simplify the list of devices that they actually do support under a flat rate program. In other words, unlike the old days of managed print, where we would almost like a dog's breakfast manage everything, even if they had 6 Tally Genicoms and two other devices or whatever, but really to simplify that list. So is that something that you provide to your customers as well, as that simplicity of the devices that they can expect?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, obviously with this program, there's that that profile of a customer that you want to utilize it for. And when you do it correctly, it's extremely profitable for the dealership. And whether it's desktop laser devices or the A3 devices, A4, whatever, we try to gobble up as much as we can within that company and put them under a flat rate program. It's simplicity again. And customers truly appreciate it. And not only do they appreciate it, but it's going to separate you from every single competitor in the marketplace. And when it does that, obviously there's nothing to really measure your program with than anything else. So what happens? It's more profitable for you as a dealership. And you're not worried about, we just lost an opportunity because we're, a half a penny more on color than the competitor. There's nothing to gauge it, and it just separates you, because when you start talking, again, as you guys know, the billing program of the flat rate, how powerful is it to the end user? Because as you know, you guys have a ton of experience as well. You know how frustrating it is for billing issues, and you're eliminating that entire issue right off their table. So it's,
Yeah, I love that. And when you talk about, this idea of, cost per page is actually administratively, breaking up a little bit, but that's okay. That's the beauty of live. When you talk about this idea of the administrative costs that customers have and a host of other costs, when you show those to the customer and you can take those away, they'll experience some savings from that, as well as making sure that we actually get paid more for the value of bringing that to them, right? So that's one thing I love about flat rate. And you also mentioned that, it sets you apart from the competition. Ken, one of the expressions that you use that I love, if you have the only flat rate program in town, are you the most expensive or the cheapest option in town?
Well, in my book, if you have the only program, you're the least expensive flat rate program in town.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think, right, Earl? That's what's so important for people to realize, is that this opportunity, Earl has done a really good job of capitalizing in the Chicago marketplace. I feel sorry for anybody that's going to look at it getting started in Chicago, because you are light years ahead right now. But there are lots of marketplaces where flat rate still has not taken hold. And if you're a dealer in one of those areas and there's nobody else there, this is your time to make hay. I absolutely love watching Earl and his success stories, which he shares on LinkedIn all the time. The stuff that he's been doing with flat rate, because he has been knocking it out of the park. Now, part of that is because Earl is Earl, one of the most positive and directed people I've ever met. But I'd have to say also just that idea that you grabbed flat rate, you didn't listen to anybody that said it couldn't work, and you just did it. So just want to congratulate you on all the success that you're having in your marketplace with the program.
Thanks, Wes. Appreciate it.
That's great.
Okay, and I have to add this. You mentioned that Earl was king of flat rate in Chicago.
Absolutely.
Earl
is flat rate king.
Yeah, he is also the king of using LinkedIn videos to advertise his product. I've never seen anybody that is as effective as Earl is. And if you haven't seen one of Earl's LinkedIn videos, you need to follow Earl and watch his videos, because he does a great job of that as well.
Yeah, and always positive, man. I just love the positive energy that you always bring to everything. I don't know if you noticed this, Earl, but you're you actually helped me get started with streaming on LinkedIn, right? Like being able to get set up for that.
Yeah.
And I noticed today that I was posting, I think it was one of your things, and a thing popped up from LinkedIn asking me if I wanted to be part of their creator group. Have you seen that yet?
I don't think so. No.
Okay, you will, because of all the stuff that you post. It's the only reason I can think of why they would actually send it to me. But they continue to do those things and to give us all a platform for reaching our customers, right? Also, while I've got you here, this has nothing to do with making more money, but really good to see that testimonial that you had from the church this morning. As Ken mentioned, like the videos and stuff that you do, but to see those kind of good words coming from people in your community that you serve, that was thumbs up. So congratulations.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Yeah, and for any end users that are watching this, if you're interested in flat rate and you're in the Chicago area, you got to make sure to check out Lead Document Solutions and Earl Everson, because they are absolutely the leader in the space right now. So thank you for that.
Thanks, Wes.
All right. Enjoy the rest of your day.
See you guys.
Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, he's absolutely incredible. He's one of my favorite people for a lot of reasons, but certainly for everything that he's done for flat rate. Anytime I hear somebody that's skeptical about flat rate, directing them to somebody like Earl, who was just knocked out of the park, is amazing, right? So, and of course, that predictable invoice that he talked about and administrative costs are really important, because we can get rid of those. People will pay a premium for that because we're helping them in areas, both administratively and from a cost perspective. And from a complexity perspective, that they're willing to pay for that, right? And you can think of times in your own life that sometimes you pay for things for people to simplify them, right? Yeah. It's funny. I was just doing an interview 2 days ago for a podcast series, and it's basically about the cloud opportunity for managed service providers, and this plays in very well because a lot of people were worried that with sort of the cloud and kind of others, that they're kind of chopping the channel out of that. And that what's actually happened is, because it's so complicated that people don't know what they're doing with the cloud, they don't know which applications they should be using, et cetera, that customers are paying the MSPs premiums to be able to take care of that for them. So even if they're not buying the thing, like the cloud service from the provider, they buy the services and the professional services wrapped around that, right? And I think that's what people have to realize about flat rate for managed print as well, is that you're not just selling them toner, you're not just selling them service, right? That you're simplifying the whole print experience for them. So all they have to worry about is getting their output. So I think that's something that we probably could have done better in the cost per page world. I'm not saying that some dealers don't, but we didn't really focus on that workflow side of it, right? Trying to make it easier for customers, because they'll pay for that. Anytime that I've worked with a customer and done an assessment and attacked their workflow, they are willing to pay for that, right? Because believe me, at the end of the day, their world is not about printing. That's not what they're thinking about every day, every minute, right? I can't wait to print. It's so exciting. I can't wait to get to the office to go touch that printer or the copier or whatever. No, it's just putting stuff out for their workflow. That's all they care about. So let's help them to simplify that process and get paid some extra margin in the process.
Well,
yeah, go ahead, Ken.
I was going to say just one other thing to think about in this too is we've talked about it simplifying the process for the customer, and the interesting thing is that even if you just charge them the same amount as you would get on a click-based program, you also take cost out of the dealership, because you don't have to send techs out to get meters, you don't have to deal with billing mistakes. You start to simplify life in the back office of the dealership as well, which is why it is such a tremendous win-win situation, both for the customer and for the dealer.
Can you imagine that, Ken? Like, that's one of the things that gets me excited about the dealers that we work with in flat rate, is when they start experiencing the reality that those meters aren't there anymore for billing, that they're only there for checks and balances. And that most of the systems have alerting capabilities. So when you get to a certain volume threshold, that you can actually get an alert to warn you that they're hitting a certain threshold. And the only reason that's done, it's not for billing, but it's to make sure that the customer is on track for what you promised them in the program, right? And I love the stuff that you do on the service side, helping the technicians and the people in the back office to be able to set those things up. But that feeling that they get when they're like, oh my God, like I literally do not have to look at these meters every day ever again, right? Nobody likes it. So that was a really good ad.
Yeah, it's amazing what it does on both sides of the equation, and it is strictly a win-win in that perspective.
All right, there's another area that customers can save money in, right? And this is one that you and I work on, a ton, right? So Ken, I'm going to let you speak to this a little bit, about the idea of, what if we stop selling equipment to customers altogether?
I think that wrapping your mind around this piece of it is so valuable, because there is no reason for a customer to ever own equipment again. I'm not saying that you don't ever cycle out their equipment and put in new equipment, But you go in, and if you buy their fleet of existing equipment, there's the one thing that immediately happens is you can get rid of the things that you don't want to support, the things that are expensive to support, and you can start to simplify the lives of your technicians, make things easier in service. And the customer doesn't really want to own them. You know, that's why they rent their building space. They don't want any of those headaches. They just want, as you said earlier, they just want output. And so if you go in and you buy out their equipment, then what you let it do is you let it become a service decision when to replace equipment. Now, you know, in the initial setup with the leasing company, what happens is there's some equipment charges built in. At the end of that lease, most leases will automatically renew. And what happens is that money that was paying for equipment, you can then put into a fund to use to replace equipment for the customer when it becomes a service problem. Right now, most dealers wind up taking out equipment that is at its peak in profitability, but just so the sales guy can make $1 and they can move some boxes, they take that equipment out, lower the price, hurt the service department, hurt the company, and there is no reason to do that.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I know that from the dealers we work with, that one of the reasons that they, kind of look to is these device quotas that they have from the manufacturers, right? In other words, if you don't, sell a certain quantity, then you're not going to get certain discounts and everything else. But what's interesting about the math that proves itself out with that fleet of equipment, Ken, that, like you said, is still 100% serviceable, probably in a better place than it was, before you took it out. Think of the money that you make from that, and then go back and look at the dollars you're worried about from losing from the, a certain portion of your manufacturer discount, right? There's two sides to that equation. So this is a great way to sell new equipment when customers need it.
Okay. And I got to chime in on that. The other thing is, because your sales reps aren't constantly worried about selling to existing customers, to constantly trying to upgrade, you can then free them up to hunt net new. And if you want to grow your business, what you care about is net new. You don't get any growth to your business upgrading your existing base. The only way that you can get growth in your business is to go out and either increase the volume you sell existing customers, or you go hunt net new. So now you can afford to be very commission friendly for your sales team to go out and get you net new business. So you can still meet your quotas. It's just you're bringing in a lot of new customers and you're growing. Now you say, well, that's hard. It's a competitive market. If you're the only flat rate dealer, it is not a competitive market because you're the only one. Yeah. So you give them a purple cow offer and you point them out there and say, go find these kinds of customers. And if you do that, you're going to make a ton of money. They'll go find the customers, your business will grow, and your profitability will grow as well.
Yeah, it's funny, one of the reasons that we talked about, I just did an article with Carl Schell, and he was asking about sort of flat rate in the early days and why it didn't take off like it is now. And I said, well, dealers were still making money hand over fist, but they were doing it from getting net new accounts because pages were still in decline. So they were getting really good at going after net new accounts and still growing, right? So that's where the money is. Internally with those existing customers, instead of maybe always trying to sell them a new piece of hardware when they possibly don't need it, is to sell them other things. So if it's managed IT services or VoIP or other services that you can converge and layer on top of what you're doing, right? So still a huge opportunity to use new ways and some pretty simple ways, especially with most of the offerings out there now that are cloud-based, right? That it's very simple to deliver these to your customers. That's how you can make money on that existing base, right? So make more money on having that purple cow to go after those net new accounts, and to make more money on your existing accounts by upgrading when they need to, and selling them other things, right? So exciting.
Okay, so I have a question for you. So I want you to. This is a trick question. If you go out and you add, let's say, VoIP to your customer, and you add managed network service to your customer, and you're doing their print, how likely are they to leave you?
Yeah, like never, right? Yeah, I can tell you this: when there are things that you love and you're getting them from one vendor, this is actually another interesting point that I was just talking about with another interview that I was doing, another article I was writing for Tiger Paw, which is about this idea of vendor consolidation. And oftentimes, when you think about it, if a customer has to buy 5 things from 5 different people, it's not just that they have 5 different sets of contacts. That means 5 different sets of phone calls. That means 5 different sets of people for support. That means 5 different sets of everything just to be able to do whatever they're trying to do, right? So Ken, what you talk about, that stickiness factor, the reason that they don't want to leave is because that vendor consolidation, if you will, makes their business lives so much easier. And again, just being able to focus on what they want to focus on, which is making more money for their company, right?
Yeah, and so right. I'm going to get one
other
quick comment in. So you think
I'm
about this.
Yeah.
So you go to your customer and say, "Listen, would you like to never have to deal with a copier sales rep again? Would you never like to have to? Would you not to have to ever deal with a meter again? Would you like to not have to ever deal with a billing mistake again? If you say yes to any one of those, I have a program for you."
Right. No, absolutely. And people will pay more for that. The security news has been absolutely disastrous lately, right? So following these ransomware attacks, I can remember the oil pipeline one, which everyone just recently went through, and the havoc that played on, obviously, just people trying to get gas for their cars, completely turned, our daily lives upside down, right? And recently in Toronto as well, a hospital was a victim of a ransomware attack. And it literally, their emergency rooms and services, all they used it for was redirecting traffic to other hospitals, right? It completely shut down the healthcare system in a hospital. And security is such an important thing for people now that they're really paying attention to it and they're willing to pay for it, right? This idea of flat rate as well, especially if you're using user-based rules, with solutions from some of the folks that we work with, then they will pay for that added security layer. And that is something that we really don't pay enough attention to in the managed print world, both from user security and other, you got to think that every time a financial report is printed or some kind of proposal or other things, these are all intellectual property pieces that belong to the company. And printers are the easiest way in the world to get them out of that company, right? I know Reality Winners was back in the news recently because I think that she's out of jail now and, in kind of a transition phase, whatever that looks like. But that's what she did. She had printed copies of stuff that, she was sharing with journalists, right? So this improved security layer that you can offer with a flat rate, hands down, that improved security, people will pay you more money for, right? So again, it's not about savings when it comes to security. Well, I guess it is. It's about long-term savings so you don't lose anything important that's going to cost you. But they're willing to pay for that peace of mind, right, Ken?
Oh, exactly. And in so many ways, we talk about security in print, but again, if you're doing managed IT, that's a piece that you can add. All of the major vendors will help you secure a customer's network to protect it against ransomware. They'll help you to provide backup systems that will make sure they have a backup that doesn't get contaminated. All of these kinds of things are things that you can create that are value added for your customers that make you, and really what we're talking about is becoming the integral part of the customer's ecosystem. And I'll point to a perfect example of a company that does this. Yeah. I saw an article a while back, it's maybe been a couple of years back, but it was talking about a hospital in Indiana that Marco, which is, the biggest player in our space, is now the IT system for that hospital. So you think about what it would mean to your business if you were the IT provider and you provided all of the infrastructure for a hospital and they paid you every month. And I'm sure that in this, that Marco did not go in and offer to be the cheapest. They just said, here, we can take care of these problems for you. And here's what it's going to cost. And it's a flat bill every month. And so what you want to do is you want to think about how can I position my company? And I had a conversation with a company yesterday about looking out 5 years. And you think about what's going to change in our space, the challenges that are coming. I had a conversation with a different individual that's a consultant in the industry talking about how long can the current business model exist when we have declining print volume and declining price. It's really hard to make a living when you're selling 0 copies for double or nothing. That just doesn't work well. And so all of these things are about not just what we're going to do in your, what you want to do in your company today, but it is about future proofing your company so that you have something that's going to continue on. You don't want to be the typewriter dealer of the past that missed things like the HP LaserJet and the word processing software and the IBM PC, because those guys are gone.
Yeah, and this idea can, like you said, 5 years from now, the as a service model for everything, right? So if it's infrastructure as a service or software as a service or everything as a service, that was another conversation I was just having with someone I interviewed for a podcast, which was this idea that even traditional MSPs or managed IT providers that want to manage the infrastructure internally at a customer site may not have that choice in 5 years, right? If cloud keeps moving the way it is, then that's going to change entirely. It's not to say there's not money to be made there, again, with flat rate services wrapped around that. And certainly for those in the managed print space, 5 years from now, we've never been busier with flat rate as we have now. The message is catching on fire because of those very reasons. The current model is broken. It just can't continue to go on the way it does. We are running short on time. So what I want to do is say, obviously, that if you want to get started on this and just have a primer, then we have this great 10-day challenge. And when I'm saying you can get it for free right now, I'm also the president for the Managed Print Services Association. If you join the MPSA, like I said, we talked about it earlier, $200, nothing. I think we still have our 6 months free, even going on right now. Then you'll get the 10-day challenge for free. And that's a $239 value, right? So it offsets itself. You got $39 to put back in your pocket. For other folks that are looking at getting more serious about this, Ken, I know we're working with a couple of dealers right now under accelerated programs, right? People that want to get this stuff done quickly and get to marketplace quickly so they can be first. And I didn't expect that to happen. I thought for sure we'd be working on programs that would take a full, 12 to 16 weeks, but nope. We've got dealers that we're working with that are anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks, right? They want to get certified. They want to get in the marketplace in their area and do what Earl Everson's been doing, which is dominating the market space, right? So get certified. You can train with Ken and I. We'd love to be able to help you to do that. If you've already got a flat rate program of your own, then we can take you through a testing procedure to get you certified on your existing program. So either way, the trick is, flatrate.world.
Flatrate.world.
We're directing end users there all day long, specifically to learn about the flat rate program and to start looking for it from dealers in their areas. So again, get access to the 10-day challenge, get certified, if that's with training with us or just getting tested with us, and let's get rocking and rolling because this is fun and you're not going to have this opportunity to dominate your marketplace in these early days forever, right? So let's get it done. What are we going to talk about next week, Ken?
There's going to be some times that you're not going to use rules-based software, and we're going to talk about the why and which clients it might apply to.
Yeah, I think it's important, right? Because I know that in the early days of flat rate, there was kind of almost like warring factions between no, doing it by user or seat is wrong, or no, doing it by device is wrong. And the honest answer is no, they're both right in particular situations. And that's where we're going to focus on next week is when you shouldn't use rules and other things based on that. So I'm pretty excited about that. So Ken, can't thank you enough for all the work that we're doing together and for tuning in every week to share with dealers in the Office Equipment Channel how they can improve their programs with flat rate. So thanks again for joining me this week.
Oh, I love our conversations. It's a lot of fun.
It absolutely is. And it is good to have fun. So if you want fun, go flat rate. And until next week, everybody take care. Happy selling.
We'll see you.